أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. In this podcast, I would like to discuss some of the proofs concerning the existence of a being necessary in essence, necessary in itself. So we would begin by saying that in philosophy as well as in theology, we have two kinds of approaches, two methodologies that are used by philosophers and theologians for proving the existence of a being or an entity in reality. The first of these is called Burhan Inni, which is the approach in which we seek to prove the existence of an entity or a being from the effect to the cause. That is, we seek to prove the existence of the cause through the existence of its effect, which is known. Okay, and because given the existence of an effect, it logically follows that its cause must also necessarily exist along with it. When I say cause over here, so it should be clear that I'm speaking about a complete or a perfect cause, illat kamila or illat tamma. Okay, I'm not talking about an imperfect or an incomplete cause. Therefore, if an effect exists, so it logically follows that its perfect cause or its complete cause must also necessarily exist along with it, because an effect is simply a shadow of its cause, and a shadow cannot exist on its own. Okay, it needs a body to which it pertains to, or to which it is related, okay, in order to exist. It has no independent existence of its own. So just as a shadow has no independent existence of its own, so similarly an effect also cannot subsist in reality in isolation or in separation from its cause. Okay, it can only exist if it is related to its cause, right? So if an effect exists, so it logically follows that its cause must also necessarily exist, even though we may not be able to apprehend that cause through our senses, or to realize its existence through sense perception. Okay. The second approach is called Burhan Limmi, in which we seek to prove the existence of a being or an entity in reality from cause to effect. That is, given the existence of its cause, we seek to prove the existence of its effect. Because as we said earlier, that since a perfect cause cannot exist without its effect also contemporaneously or simultaneously existing along with it, so if a perfect cause exists, if we know for sure that yes, a certain perfect cause exists, so we can also be certain of the existence of its effect, right? But this second approach, the Burhan Limmi one, cannot be used in relation to proving the existence of a being necessary in essence. Why? Because God simply has no cause. A necessary being is one that is uncaused in essence, and is in fact the cause of all the other causes. Therefore, since God has no cause, therefore we cannot use the second of these two approaches for proving the existence of a being necessary in essence, right? Because simply because he is not the effect of some cause. Therefore, the only approach remaining is the first mention of these approaches, that is the Burhan Inni one, in which we seek to prove the existence of an entity or a being from the existence of the effect to the cause. Okay. Now, if there is an existent that is endowed with or that possesses existence in reality, so we can be rest assured it cannot be impossible in essence, because had it been impossible in essence or mumtani bizat, it would have never existed in the first place. Because an impossible being is one for which it is impossible to exist and for which non-existence is necessary, right? So if something exists in reality, it is endowed with existence or possesses existence, we can be sure that it cannot be impossible in essence. If it is not impossible in essence, so this leaves us with only two alternates, only two possibilities. That is, it is either necessary in essence or possible in essence. Now, if it is asserted to be necessary in essence. So this is exactly what we had set off to prove, namely the existence of a being necessary in essence, right? And if it is asserted to be possible in essence, or a contingent, essentially contingent being, so something which exists and is possible in essence, okay, must necessarily have a cause for its existence, okay, for necessitating the possibility of its existence, or for converting the possibility into a necessity, or for granting preference to the possibility of its existence over the possibility of its non-existence. So if something exists and is contingent in essence, it means that it is an effect of some cause. Being contingent is synonymous with being an effect, provided the thing asserted to being contingent is and has existence in reality. That is, it is an existent. So being contingent is synonymous with being an effect. So if it is an effect, so it must necessarily have a cause. Now the same question reverts towards that cause. That is that cause necessary in essence or possible in essence? If necessary in essence, this is exactly what we had set off to prove. And if possible in essence, so the question will move towards the cause of the cause, and so on and so forth. But since infinite regress and circular causation are both held to be impossible, and I would not like to, for the sake of simplicity and brevity, I would not like to go into proving the impossibility of infinite regress and circular causation in this podcast, because probably that would make it more complicated. I would like to keep things simple. So we would assume that infinite regress and circular causation are impossible. And since they are impossible, therefore the causal chain of cause and effect cannot go on indefinitely, infinitely. It must end at an existence that is uncaused in essence. And something that is uncaused in essence must be a being necessary in itself. It cannot be something other than that, because if it exists, it cannot be impossible in essence, as we have already spoken. Because had it been impossible in essence, it would have never existed in the first place. And if it were to be possible in essence, so it would not be uncaused. It would have to be caused by some, it would be an effect of some cause. Okay? So the fact that it is uncaused, okay, makes it necessary, absolutely necessary for it to be necessary in essence. Okay, and it is this existent, the cause of all the causes, the first cause, the first existent, that is the necessary being, and that is held to be God. Okay, I hope you have found this useful, and let me know if there are any questions, and would try my best, to the best of my abilities, to answer those questions, although I do not promise anything. But let's see. Khuda Hafiz. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.